Welcome to Buffalo Kickoff Live Training Camp Edition alongside Sal Capaccio, Thad Brown. I'm Josh Reed. Tim Graham and Nick Filipowski, they're back in the studio. They're going to join us a little bit later in the show. Fellas, as expected, the quarterbacks take center stage, and they have been the storyline all camp long. So far, what is your take on the quarterback competition?
Well, it's interesting. You really have three guys with different skill sets and, I will say, different philosophies, I think, when they are under center. A.J. McCarron's been the steady guy. He doesn't make the wow plays. He also doesn't make mistakes. He's not willing to take as many chances. Nathan Peterman takes more chances, but he doesn't really have that strong enough arm to fit it in those tight windows, if you will. He's going to make more mistakes, but he likes to take some chances once in a while. And then Josh Allen, he's the home run guy. He'll take those chances, and sure, some aren't going to work out so well, but he gives you those balls that the other two simply can't throw.
The thing I've been encouraged about most so far is that the two guys that you would count on most to look good at camp have, for the most part, looked good. A.J. McCarron has been very comfortable running the first team. Not spectacular, like Sal said, but certainly good enough. And Josh Allen has had more than enough of those wow plays for you to get excited about the future of this quarterback position.
Now, let's face it, Sean McDermott has said that this was going to be an open competition from day one. And you know what? To his credit, all three of the quarterbacks have worked with the first team.
Yeah, now today, A.J. McCarron was with the ones for the second day in a row, and that's the first time we've seen that. So we can maybe read into it, Josh, that he's trending towards being the week one starter. I think it's more that they're preparing for preseason game week number one, and I'd be really stunned if it wasn't A.J. McCarron. Look, I mean, he is the guy that they signed as a free agent. He is the 5-year veteran. I think this organization, that's their philosophy, he would play.
I think that McCarron so far has maybe separated himself a little bit. To me, the biggest separation so far, Nate Peterman dropping back into the third spot behind the other two guys.
Of course, I had a chance to sit down with Sean McDermott earlier today, and of course I asked him about the quarterbacks. Here's a look at that interview. Coach, everybody has a morning routine. Yours happens to be to answer questions about quarterbacks. How close are you to knowing who's going to start Thursday in that first preseason game?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we've got some more practice days between now and then, and certainly an opportunity in a couple minutes here to get on the field and put our best foot forward and continue to grow and learn as a team, as well as at the quarterback position. So we're off to a good start. You know, each day we'll move closer and closer to that time.
Now, we get a chance to see the throws on the field, and I know that's obviously part of the equation. What else goes into it, though?
There's a lot that goes into it. How they relate to their teammates, how their teammates relate to them, the mental side of the game, their preparation, the leadership element. There's a lot that goes into it.
On the other side of the ball, Tremaine Edmonds had a really impressive play yesterday, coming up with the interception. Where do you see his development right now in his first training camp?
Yeah, he's ahead of schedule. Still a lot of work to do, quite frankly. You know, each day, just for Tremaine, no different than any other rookie in terms of each day is a new day and something they haven't experienced before. So
we know how much you like to compete. You got Brian Dable here now. How much fun is it day in and day out going against his offense?
Well, I like to stoke the flame a little bit and kind of after practice drop in and say, hey, you know, the defense won today or the offense won that one, and then kind of sneak out and just kind of get it, just poke it a little bit. And you know, with the competitive nature of our staff and our players, that's good this time of year. You know, the competition levels are high here, and you know, that goes the same for our coaching staff.
You're a huge character guy. It's one of the most important things to you when it comes to players and your personnel. But you need a little bit of that nastiness on the roster, right? And when you look at the roster, who's that guy that's got that nasty edge to him and maybe that nasty streak to him?
Well, there's quite a few players that have that dog, if you will. We talk about that as well. That's part of the DNA. The character's important, but within that, you've got to be able to flip the switch. Got some guys on our roster that can do that, and that's elite level thinking.
Finally, how excited are you to get back to New Era Field and get in front of the fans on Friday?
Yeah, we're very excited about that. It'll be a special evening to connect with our fan base down there and get back home. A lot of these guys haven't been in our stadium, haven't been in the locker room, so it'll be a dress rehearsal for our first preseason game against Carolina, where they can get into their routine, see where they dress, get a feel for the fans, get a feel for the stadium and the field. We're looking forward to it.
No more quarterback questions until tomorrow.
Thanks,
Josh. Coach. Appreciate it. Thank you. We've all had a chance to interview Sean a lot over the last couple of years, last 2 years. It's hard to get him to specifically talk about an individual player. But I tell you what, he gushes when he talks about Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, you can tell how special he believes that Tremaine can end up being.
And you gush when you see him out here if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Guys, I have not seen a man that big move as well as him, maybe ever. He's 6'5", 250, moves like a small man. 83-inch wingspan. Think about that for a second. Today he made 2 great plays on the ball, one an almost interception, the other was an interception, covering LaShawn McCoy. And after practice, guys, a bunch of us reporters were asking him about that. LaShawn came over. He was basically giving him a little bit about, you can't cover me, but then he looked at all of us very seriously and said, look, in a couple of years, this guy is going to be one of the best players in the league. He didn't say linebacker, Thad. He said players.
I was talking to someone the other day about how good I think he can be, and the guy looked back at me and said, he's not going to be Mike Singletary. I said, you know what? Let's not put that out of the question just yet. And how many times, by the way, have you guys marveled looking at him thinking, this guy this big is a linebacker? You never see that in the NFL. Well, the guy who masterminded a trade for Tremaine Edmonds, remember, not just Josh Allen was traded up for in this draft, was a guy I got a chance to sit down with earlier this week, Brandon Beane. We talked about the Bills' AD as in after drought and the Josh Allen experience, not the quarterback stuff, but the meeting to go out to see him the first time in Wyoming.
So it was, we hit what's called a mountain wave. We didn't know it at the time, but we were about 15 minutes from the ground, and literally heads were, I mean, even with the seat belts, we were hitting the edge of the ceiling, and people were literally, Terry Pagula was next to me, and he was clawing to get back to his seat to sit down. But it was the last 12 to 15 minutes. We weren't sure we were going to make Josh Allen's visit, but we survived. Good story, and funny how it works out. We end up with Josh.
Now that you got him, what are you hoping to see from him here in the preseason at Fisher this year?
Well, I think we want to see what we saw in the spring. We saw in the spring what you would expect, a guy learning a new offense, learning the pro game, learning his players. So how does he transition there? How does he lead? What does he do when bad things happen? And that's one of the biggest things is we're all going to hit adversity, and there's going to be plays when you throw picks or 2 picks or you fumble or whatever. How does he bounce back?
You talk about adversity, and this team has faced a bunch over the last few years with the playoff drought, but now that that's gone, is there a different feeling? Is there a different atmosphere when it just comes to how you approach everything with that monkey lifted off your back?
Yeah, I think the guys believe in what we're doing because it's a long season. You're going to deal with adversity, and the teams that know how to deal with it best, the leadership, who, you know, your core players, those, if you have that right, those teams survive the bumps. And the big bump last year, I mentioned a couple times, was we lose 3 in a row. I've been on teams where that ended your season, and I think the guys saw, hey, we can bounce back, beat Kansas City, win another game, and finish strong. I know, Sean, we use it as a teaching point when we hit more adversity. This is a new season. It's a different team, but enough guys were here and enough of our core, so we will use that as a reference point when we are dealing with adversity.
Surprising that of all the good things the Bills did last year, the thing that they will use this year to build going forward is that 3-game losing streak. But clearly didn't work out too badly last year.